Hello, my name is Michael, and on behalf of Newgen Software, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join our webinar today. Before we begin, please allow me just to take a few moments to go ahead and touch on Newgen as a company, our platform, and the solution that I will be covering. Newgen has been in business for over 30 years and is a publicly listed company that has shown 28% year-over-year revenue growth. Now, this has allowed us to remain a profitable and debt-free company. We do have over 500 clients globally, with the majority of these clients coming from the banking and financial services space, where Newgen has a niche focus. Newgen has made and will continue to make significant investments in software product research and development, and Newgen does spend approximately 10% as a proportion of our total expenditure on research and development annually. We do hold 24 patents with additional patents that have been filed. And finally, Newgen repeatedly receives analyst recognition from the likes of Forrester and Gartner, where we also appear in the Wave and Magic Quadrants. Moving forward, our solution is built on the low-code NewgenONE platform. Now, this includes a combination of low-code automation, content management, and communication management capabilities, which can all be used for the digital transformation of various banking use cases. The platform allows for financial institutions to implement one solution, such as digital account opening that we'll be covering today, and then also continue to build and evolve on the same platform as your business and customer-centric needs go ahead and evolve and change. These solutions can include things like account maintenance, retail loan origination, commercial loan origination, as well as vital organizational solutions like trade finance, accounts payable, and beyond that even. All of this can be added to the existing platform with ease, which increases the value of Newgen's low-code platform. The platform really becomes more than just a point solution and fosters a long-term relationship with a financial institution for a higher ROI. Finally, before moving on to the demonstration, I just wanted to briefly give an overview of Newgen's digital account opening solution. Our solution allows consumer and business accounts to be open in just a matter of minutes, with automated approvals that reduce manual reviews with a full-fledged back office system for application reviews, documentation follow-ups, and approvals. Newgen's low-code platform delivers a fully automated experience for the new account opening process for an exceptional customer experience. Now let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration. If you can just bear with me for one moment, I'm going to switch my screen over here. And we'll jump into the demo. So for the first part of the demonstration, we're going to see what the customer experience is like online. So if you want to imagine you have a customer that's navigated to your website and they would like to open a new deposit account. Now what we're doing here as a best practice is just letting them know the basic information that they're going to need to be able to complete the account opening process. And the reason I say this is a best practice is because we don't want them to have to stop in the middle of the application, try to find information, and then potentially not come back and complete that application. Now moving forward, the first question we ask is if they are an existing customer. If they are, what they can do is go ahead and log in using their online banking credentials, and this will pre-fill all of the information they have into this application. Now we do have single sign-on with online banking, so you can either start from your website and then log in, or they can start from within online banking and then transition into the Newgen solution to open an account, and all the details will be passed on as needed there. Now we're going to go ahead and proceed as if I am a new customer so we can see what that journey is like. Now when I click no, it's going to go ahead and ask me for a zip code. And we're taking this approach because we're creating kind of a geofencing capability where we can only accept applications from specified areas that we want. Now, even taking that a step further, besides just the geofencing, we do have rule-based parameters that we can build into the system. So if you want to offer certain promotions, certain deposit accounts depending on the location, or certain rates, we can have all that mapped into the system, and we can pick that up here using the zip code. And enter the zip code in here. And then moving forward, we do have some language about capturing the communication consent, presenting the electronic disclosure agreement. For the demonstration, we allow a simple click of the toggle switch, but as per your preferences, you can require that the links are opened or launched, downloaded, whichever you would prefer. Now, when I move forward, we're going to go ahead and ask for the date of birth. And the reason we're asking for that is because we want to filter out any accounts for which this applicant might not qualify for. So this could be things like a senior checking account, a junior savings. So whatever the scenario is, we can go ahead and filter those out. So you can see I'm going to go ahead and enter in my date of birth here. And then in the background, you can see that I do have a senior checking that's there. But once I enter in my date of birth, any products like that are going to be filtered out since I wouldn't qualify for those based upon my date of birth. Now I am proceeding through this application on a laptop. So we do take advantage of the full screen real estate that we have available. So I can see all of the account details, so the opening deposits, any monthly maintenance fees or anything like that. But this is a device responsive interface that we've created. And so let me just quickly show you. If I do hit inspect, I can mimic an iPhone here through my browser. And automatically the screen will adjust and optimize depending on the device that I'm using. So you can see we're going to go ahead and present this better for that more of a portrait layout compared to the landscape layout. And then we're still kind of condensing the details, but showing some highlights like, hey, this might be best for basic needs or high balances. And I can always expand these out to see that the additional detail if required as well. So let's just go ahead and complete this on the laptop here. And so as I'm browsing through this, if I want to say that, hey, this Freedom Rewards checking sounds good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and make that selection. And you can see that we get a little notice here that says that if I want the Freedom Rewards checking, I also have to select the Freedom Rewards savings. And so to make it easy, I can go ahead and add both of those accounts with a single click of a button. So now I've added both a checking and a savings, and we do have a shopping cart-like experience where anything that I've added is going to be there at the top of my screen here. Now there's no limitation on the Newgen platform side to how many accounts or deposit products can be added to one application. I can even add multiple of the same. So if I wanted multiple Freedom Rewards checkings, I could do that if you would like to enable that within the system here. Other products we can browse through. I'm just going to go ahead and stick to the ones we've already added. And as I move forward, we're going to go ahead and capture the personal details. Now, we've taken the approach here where we require an ID upload. So again, that's a point of preference. And keep in mind as I move through the demonstration that everything that you're seeing is completely configurable. So the order of the screens, the questions that we're asking, the look and the feel is completely configurable. And so we've taken the approach where we do require an ID upload. If you would prefer to have those fields there, but that can be manually filled, that also is an option. Now again, because I'm on the laptop, I can go ahead and upload an existing image or file that I have. So I'm just going to upload a sample ID. If I was on a smartphone or tablet, if I clicked on this camera icon, I do have the option to go ahead and snap that picture in real time using my device camera there. So once I upload a picture of the ID, it's going to go ahead and extract the information and fill it into the application. So everything that's on there that would be relevant to my application is filled in. So this will save time, make it easy for any of those new customers so they're not manually keying this information in. Additionally, it'll help reduce errors so they don't have any of those typos as they're going through and manually filling that out. Now we do require a few fields that are certainly not on the driver's license I'll have to add. So we do ask for a social security number here, as well as an email address. Let me go ahead and complete those. And then we also ask for a security passphrase along with a phone number. Down below, all my ID information and address information has been filled in for me, so I don't have to complete that. But we do ask for some employment details, so let me go ahead and complete those here. Go ahead and select my preferred contact method. And we do have the option for capturing and applying any promotions or promo codes. We do also support link-based promotions, so we can, if you're running any campaigns, we can send those specific links for those products promotions out, so you don't have to necessarily, enter a promo code. We can just jump right to that promotion as well. Down below, before I continue, I just wanted to highlight we do have a save and exit button here. So if I'm filling this out, if I happen to run out of time or get distracted, maybe I have some questions and I want to walk into the branch and get some help, we do have that option that is a completely cross-channel solution. So if I save this application, I could walk into a branch, all my information will be saved there, and we could pull that up and I could get some help or assistance with any questions that I might have. I'm just going to go ahead and continue forward here. And then once I continue, this is where I can go ahead and add any joint owners. So any joint owners or signers, beneficiaries, I could go ahead and add them at this time. In the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and say no. So again, any beneficiaries, if I would like, I can add them here as well. Now that we've captured the personal information and selected the accounts that I would want, we're just going to do a quick review here. So I can see all my information. If I happen to notice any errors I need to correct, I can simply click Edit and make those updates right here on this page. Otherwise, we'll assume that everything is fine. And we'll come down to the bottom of the page where we again have some customer consent language. And so what we're doing here is just making sure we are informing the customer that we are going to be capturing additional information from them. So this is where we're going to leverage integration with the various third-party systems, so we can run any IDV, IDA checks. We'll touch on this shortly here regarding the integrations. But what we've done here is we've replaced the continue button with an I agree. So in order to continue forward this application, I either have to agree or exit the application. And as I'm walking through this, everything that's happening is being recorded in the detailed audit system, or the audit trail within the system here. Now we're going to perform a quick authentication just to make sure we're dealing with a real person giving us correct information. So we can send a one-time password by text message or email. So I can go ahead and make my selection here. And once I receive that, we'll go ahead and continue forward. Now, once we move forward, we do have a few due diligence questions that we're going to ask. So any of the due diligence, KYC type of questions, account usage details, if you might want to capture those, we can certainly add those here to the step. So I can just go ahead as the customer and answer these questions. Now, these are dynamic in nature, so depending on how I respond, we might have additional follow-up questions. And these also help drive the straight-through processing. So in this case, we are expecting a no response here for traveling outside the U.S. What is my source of funds? Am I a politically exposed person, for example? Now, let's say, for example, I said yes here. The application is not going to stop. I'm going to be able to go ahead, complete the application. But this is one of those points where it would flag this application for a manual review rather than allowing it to go through for straight-through processing. And again, that's just one parameter. We can configure, various all the different rules, leveraging those integrations and the data we're receiving from those third-party systems as well. Now, as we move forward, we do have a few options to select based upon the deposit products I've selected here. So I can go ahead and select if I would like a debit card, if I would like to have it mailed to me, if I want to pick it up at a branch. I can also opt into overdraft protection, in which case I would have to go ahead and agree to those terms. And then down below, we do have rule-based disclosures. So the system is going to be able to identify, based upon the products I've selected, the options or features that I've added to my account, even the location of the applicant. So if you're operating in multiple states and you have different requirements for those disclosures, we would map those rules into the system here. Now, once I go ahead and click continue to move forward, the system is going to go ahead and make its determination if this is going to be an approved application or not. If it is an automatically approved application, we're going to go ahead and move on and capture their signature here. So any signatures that you would need for any documentation, account agreements, disclosures, we do have integration with the various e-sign systems, and it works really nicely here. So I don't even have to leave my screen. I don't have to wait for an email to get a link. It's all happening right here. As part of the demonstration, we're just asking for one signature on the account agreement. But of course, in a real world scenario, we would have all those documents mapped here for you. So I'm going to go ahead and capture the signature here. it's going to bring me right back here into my last step, which would be to fund the account, because we have an automated approval, which triggered that signature requirement there. So moving to the funding step, I did have two deposit products that I selected, and they both had minimum deposit amount, so those are pre-filled. I could of course add additional funds if I would like as well. And I'm going to go ahead and proceed forward. Now, we do have all the various funding options available. In the demonstration, we're just showing two, but whether we're doing external transfer, ACH, credit or debit card, for existing customers, we can also go ahead and do an internal transfer. So again, we can leverage our integration capabilities to do that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and select the external transfer here, and we're going to go ahead and initiate the unauthorized and ACH transaction. So I'm going to click OK here on the checkbox and click Submit. Now here you're going to see that we are leveraging integration with Plaid. So we do have that capability through Plaid to have that instant account verification as part of the funding process. So I'm going to go ahead and select my existing financial institution and enter in my credentials here. Once I do that, it'll show me the different options I have. I can make my selections and continue forward. And just give me a message that I've successfully linked my accounts with Newgen. And I'll click continue. And that's going to go ahead and complete our deposit account journey there. So you can see that we were able to have a automated approval of my application. I was able to go ahead and open both a checking and savings account in one application. And now that I've come to that last page, this is where we can present any of your messaging, your branding, as well as present any cross-sell or upsell opportunities that might also be there. So we're already capturing their information. We might be running various checks, whether that's IDV, IDA, credit bureaus, and we can leverage that data to see if they might qualify for additional products here. So you can see that I do have a credit card offer. Now, if I want to go ahead and take advantage of this as a customer, I don't have to fill out a completely separate application. We already have all their information, so we can just move that data forward and only capture the additional details that would be needed for that particular product. So we can go ahead and take a look how that would look, or how that would look like here. So once I click Apply Now, you can see that, hey, since I've already completed my application, we just need some additional details. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that here. So what do I rent, if I own, what is my length of stay, the length of employment here, my gross monthly income. Again, any consent or compliance language requirements would be posted here. And I'll again click Agree to move forward. Any additional disclosures, agreements that you might require, we can capture those here. So I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge those, and I'll continue. And so you can see in just a matter of minutes, I was able to have a couple of deposit products as well as a new credit card, just to really increase that stickiness with this new customer, so they have that good experience getting multiple products in just a few minutes in one go here. So if you can just bear with me for one moment, we're going to go ahead and transition, and we'll see what the system looks like from the financial institution side here. So let me just go ahead and switch my screen over momentarily. All right. So now I'm going to transition here to see what the financial institution interface is like and what that experience is here. So I'm going to log in to the system as one of the authorized users. Now, once I log into the system, the screen that I arrive at is what we refer to as our personalized user workspace. And the reason we call it this is because we're able to create different snapshots that are relevant to the person that's logging into the system based upon what their job profile is, what they might do within the system. Let's say they're a frontline branch worker versus a back office approver. So I can see whatever data is most relevant to me as soon as I log in here. Now you can even navigate through these dashboards as well. So if I were to come over here, I can say, okay, let me see all of the completed applications today for the consumer side or the business, or I can say, hey, let me see the ones that are pending review. I have all those options there. Now, on the left-hand side, these are all the various queues within the workflow. So it is a queue-based workflow. So the system intelligently determines where the application needs to flow. So our application that we completed, it's already moved to the completed queue, so we don't need to do anything there. Any applications that might be sent for manual review, we would be able to pick those up in our review queue. If there's applications that were incomplete, we could go ahead and pick those back up on the in progress queue. And you can see we have different queues for consumers, which starts with the C, or business applications, which would start with the B. And so it is completely rights-based. So depending on who's logged into the system, what access rights that they have, they may or may not be able to see all of these queues. Now, for the next part of the demonstration, what I'll do is showcase what the in-branch experience would be like. So let's envision a scenario where you have someone that walks into a branch, and we could also leverage the same system to go ahead and open up a new deposit product. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the plus sign, which will initiate a new application for me. Now, once we open this up, we can go ahead and initiate a new application. And what we've done here as a best practice is required that we do a quick search for the customer here. And this will just ensure that we don't have an application maybe already in flight, or if they're just to ensure if they're an existing customer, new customer. So we're just going to do a quick search here. And so once I do the search, you can see that we do have a match. So we did see on the online portion how we would have that new customer experience. In the in the in-branch experience, we can go ahead and see how that would look for an existing customer here. So we do have a match, so I'm going to go ahead and retrieve their details here for Samuel. And so now, since Samuel is an existing customer, all of his information is going to go ahead and be pre-filled here into our interface. So I don't have to capture anything from scratch. I can see all of his data, and we can just go ahead and just very easily add some new deposit products for him here. So I can see all his personal details, his beneficiary information, and we'll go ahead and click next. And once I click next, my screen is just going to refresh, and where before we only had the one tab with our application details, now we have all of these tabs where we can walk through and complete this application. And just so you can see here, I didn't mention this earlier, that up at the top of the screen, we just have this header that gives us some basic details about the application. Down below, we can see where we're at in the process. And then down below this, where I have all the different sections or categories of information just divided into tabs. And it works really nicely just to work in this left to right format until we get up to our decision tab here. Now I'm going to go ahead and select a new account to add to Samuel's account here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click add, and I can see any of the eligible products that we can select for him. Let's just go ahead and add a start fresh checking for him here. Once I make that selection, I can see any of those account details, so opening deposits, any interest rates, description. If this sounds good to me, I can just go ahead and click Save and Close. And now we'll have that here added to this application. Any services or account features or options can be here once we move forward. I'm just going to go ahead and add overdraft. If I click Save and Next, my little window will stay open here, and I can add multiple products without having to open this back up again. So once I'm done there, we're going to go ahead and move forward. Now our next step is going to be the identity verification. step here. So as per your requirements, depending on if there's been so many days or months since it was the last run, since he is an existing customer, we can make these steps mandatory. On the online applications, these are happening behind the scenes automatically, so nobody has to initiate those manually. But here on the in branch here, we're going to go ahead and just kind of do this manually. In this particular case, we have a few options here where we can leverage integration with Alloy. So we can get those results back here. So depending on whichever systems you're using, we can see what's the recommendation, all the various tags that are being returned as part of Alloy. We also can leverage FIS check systems or any other systems that you might prefer as part of this process here. So for any of those systems that you're utilizing, we can integrate with those, pull in the data as well as any reports that they might be returning. So for check systems here, if they're returning a report, I can go ahead and launch this here, and I can see all the detailed information about what's passed, what hasn't passed, what the recommendation is for all systems here. Now, for the interest in the interest of time for the demonstration, we haven't required any due diligence or documents, which will be the next two tabs, but just wanted to also show that here. So any due diligence questions, again, KYC, account usage information that you'd like to capture, we would map those here, and we can make those mandatory, of course. Similarly, any supporting document requirements, we can make those mandatory if you depending on your requirements and policies here. Just to kind of show you what that would look like here, if let's say I did need to update the ID, for example, I can just go ahead and upload. Let me upload again one of the existing IDs that I have. And so once I upload that here, we're going to just have a little icon that appears, and I can view any of those documents that I've uploaded. Now let's say we have some documents that are required. The customer came into the branch, they didn't bring everything that was needed. We do also have this column here where we can request documents. So since we have their information, like their email, we can just walk through this checklist here. And so any of those documents that would be required that are mandatory, we would simply select those here. And then we have a button to go ahead and request documents. Now, what would happen is they would get an email with a link, and that link would bring them back to the online portal where they would be able to authenticate and then upload those documents. Meanwhile, this application will be sitting in the queue that indicates that, hey, we're waiting on something from the customer. So this way we have that kind of parked. We know what's going on with that application. And then once those documents are uploaded, it'll automatically move itself out of that queue and back into the workflow for any further reviews there. So now once we move forward, we're going to come to the decision tab. So once we have all the data, the documents that would be required, we can go ahead and say, hey, is this going to be approved? Do we still need more documents? Do we need to decline this? Maybe the customer changed their mind. We're just going to go ahead and say approved. Any comments that you would like to leave can all be captured here, and these would be like internal comments that would all be recorded in the audit trail as well. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this as an approved application. And so now that I've approved it, again, my screen will refresh here, and we'll continue forward with the process where we're going to have the appearance of two new tabs here. So now we have the signing and funding options. So we have different options for capturing a signature. So we can do email. If maybe, hey, they came in their lunch break, I got to go now. We can shoot an email out to them. They'll get a link. They can finish signing later. We can do an in-person e-sign. And this can be through DocuSign, as you'll see here in one moment. So that's how we have the demo set up for DocuSign. We can also integrate with signature pads. So we'll capture that signature whichever way you would prefer here as part of the process. So I'm going to go ahead and initiate the in-person e-sign. And in the case of DocuSign, we have it set up. So if you want to envision, hey, you're sitting here with the customer and maybe you're sharing your screen or passing back and forth. So we have on-screen instructions. It says bank staff, go ahead and pass control of the session over to Samuel. So then we'll go ahead and click continue. And this will be very similar to what we just saw a moment ago, where I'm just going to go ahead and capture our signature. And again, just one document here for the demonstration. So just the account agreement, I'll just go ahead and adopt and sign here. We'll click finish. And if I want additional emails, I can add those. Otherwise, we'll continue forward. And then it says to complete the signing process, go ahead and pass control back to the bank staff. And I'm just going to say OK, and we'll just wait for our screen to come back up and refresh. And now it just says a DocuSign has been processed, so we can say OK. Now let's move forward to complete the process here. So we'll move to the funding step. And very similar to what we saw earlier, so we have different funding options. So this case on the in branch, we could do cash, check, debit or credit, ACH. And so we'll go ahead and we'll make our selections here for the account type. And we'll go ahead and capture our information here for our customer. Enter in the account information as well as the routing number. And we'll submit our application. So now we've gone through all the various steps. We've captured the approval, we've captured our signature, we've got the funding details. We can leverage our integration with the core, push everything over, and return back anything like the account number here. So you can see we're being presented with the account number, so I can go ahead and click proceed. And this is where we can see, our account number, accounts that we have. We can order checks. Now, our application is still here in the system, but because this is a completed, approved application that's been pushed to the core, I could of course see all this information, but now we're just kind of keeping this in a read-only format, so I can't really make any changes here because this has already been completed and pushed to the core. So now we've been able to walk through a few scenarios here. So we got to see the online application for a new customer for a consumer account. We also got to see the in-branch experience for a consumer account, but for an existing customer. We still have time, so I'll go ahead and we can also walk through a business account opening application as well. So again, just bear with me for a moment here and we'll switch back over. All right, so I just switched my screen back over here. So for this part of the demonstration, what I'll do is I'll walk through an online application for a business customer. So it's going to be a lot of similarity here. So the same look and feel, making sure that we have everything we need. Also providing additional helpful tips for these business customers. So just saying, hey, depending on your business entity type, make sure you have these documents here. We also have little helpful tips as we go through, just making sure that we have all the beneficial owners information, signer information as we go through the application here. Now, for the business applications, we're taking a slightly different approach where we're going to go ahead and ask a few questions here about the business here. So what is the business entity type? And then we're asking here, does this business fall into any of the following categories for which we might not want to provide deposit accounts for, or maybe not online applications? So whatever your preference is. So this can be things like money services, marijuana businesses, whatever you'd like to kind of highlight there. And for the demonstration of we've allowed it so that I can change my answer here. But if I do click yes, we do provide a hard stop on this application, so we're not going to allow the applicant to proceed forward if this is true. But we kind of also give them a little bit of a graceful exit, so to speak, where we'll capture their information here, so we have their details that we can follow back up with them, kind of see what other options might be there for them for opening an account or other other options, other services. Also, even just make sure that they're answering the question correctly. So just wanted to get that information so we're not potentially losing someone that would actually qualify for some type of account here. Again, I'm going to go ahead and move forward here. So we're going to capture the zip code as well. Similar communication consent here. Communication consent here. So I'm just going to check the toggle switch. And for the business accounts, again, we're not going to ask for a birthday in this case, but we're going to present all the different accounts that we have. So I can browse through these, see what sounds good for me. I'm going to go ahead and select just a traditional business checking, and we'll move forward with the application. Very similar to what we saw before, where since this is a new customer, we're going to capture the information using an ID extraction here. Again, as I mentioned before, everything is completely configurable. So some of our clients prefer to actually capture the business details before the personal details, is kind of one example. So we've made those changes. So it is completely configurable based upon your preferences here. So I've captured that information here from the ID. And let me go ahead and capture additional information here. So what is the passphrase, the email, the phone number? Again, the ID information, address information, all pre-filled for me. And we're going to go ahead and capture some employment details. Now, here as I move forward, we're going to have a few questions. So this is going to be different from the consumer accounts, where we want to know how this person that's completing this application relates to the business that the account is being opened for here. So are they an authorized signer? We're taking the approach that if they're filling out the application, we're just going to default that to yes. Does this applicant have 25% or more ownership in the business? Do they have a significant controlling position in the business? So we're going to go ahead and answer those questions here, and then we can move forward. Now here we're going to be able to add any other individuals that are or beneficial owners, so anyone that owns 25% or more of the business, or any signers, significant controllers that might be required. We can go ahead and say yes and add those. Again, we'll just go ahead and say no for the interest of time here. And we'll capture some information about the business here. What is the name, the tax ID, business formation date, phone number of the business here, as well as the email address. And we do also ask for the business category here. And so we do have this mapping back to the NAICS code. So we're taking the approach where we allow the applicant to select the category, the subcategory, and then based upon that, we're filling in that NAICS description here. So they can go ahead and read that and make sure that everything sounds good based upon what their business is. Let me go ahead and capture the business information here. Now, before we move forward, we are asking for Omar's ownership percentage. I'm going to go ahead and say 90%. So we're just ensuring that I don't have to add any additional beneficial owners here. And then again, we do have that review page where we're just making sure that everything is good, which we'll assume that everything is fine before we go ahead and move forward. And once we come to the bottom here, similar consent language where we just want to make sure we're capturing their acknowledgement and agreement as part of the application here. Now for the business side, we are asking for some additional supporting documents. We've taken the approach where you can make this optional. So if you just want to capture that application and say, hey, we can get these documents later, but just know that you'll need those. I'm just going to go ahead and upload some sample documents here. So let me go ahead and do that here, and we'll see how these can be moved here to the back office as well. So just a few sample documents that we'll upload. So I'll continue forward. And again, we can select from any options that might be there. I'm going to go ahead and select the debit card to be mailed to me. Now I've only filled this out for one applicant. If I did fill this out for multiple applicants, we could further select, whom we would like to have receive a debit card. So if we had those multiple applicants, we can make those selections there. We can also go ahead and capture any interest in any treasury management services. So while this is not part of this demonstration, we can still go ahead and capture the interest here, so we can have that recorded and we can pass this forward here to those stakeholders internally. Again, acknowledge any disclosures, agreements that we might have, and we'll go ahead and continue forward to submit this application. Now, for our business applications, you can see we do have this sent for review, so it's not going to be a straight through processing. We're going to have somebody go ahead and manually pick up this application to do a quick review here. And in the time we have remaining, let's go ahead and try to complete that review. If you bear with me, let me go ahead and let me switch my screen over and we'll pick that up. So transition back here into the financial institution side here. So I'm going to go ahead and move into our business queue here. So our app validation, we can pick up our application that we just submitted. Now that application is going to be open here. Again, all the different tabs we'll have to walk through. I'm actually going to intentionally not come back to this here. I'm going to purposely skip this, and I'll kind of show you how the system ensures that we are completing everything that's mandatory here. But any of the third-party system checks that we need to perform, kind of like we just saw on the consumer side, we can go ahead and generate those. So whether we're doing the OFAC, the qualifier, capturing the score, and we're just going to kind of move a little bit faster on this one just because of the time we have remaining. So I can come to my documents tab here. Any documents that were submitted online, again, we can see that little icon here. So I can click on those here and then pull this up, and we'll be able to see those documents that were submitted online. So we can have a review, follow-up of these documents. Again, I can request anything in case anything is incorrect document, or maybe it's outdated, whatever the case might be. For the due diligence on the business side here, again, we haven't made the responses mandatory as part of the demo in the interest of time, but what we're doing here is mapping all the Verifin requirements here. So we do have integration with Verifin where we can go ahead and do a feed over to them. It's typically a nightly feed because they don't have the API capabilities on their side there. So now we've come over here to complete the first initial tabs. We're going to arrive at our decision tab where we can make our decision, whether it's approve or decline. And if you recall, I said I purposely skipped a step here. So if I hit approve, the system's going to say that, hey, it looks like you didn't complete that business resolution. So let me go ahead and come back to that. So what happens is the system will perform a check just to make sure that all the mandatory steps are completed here before I can actually approve the application. So let me just do, we have a simple single owner here, and I'm going to say single signature required, and we also require that I say that I did complete this. And then now I can go ahead and approve this application. No flags are raised here by the system, so okay, let's go ahead and move forward. And we'll be able to pick up our application here. Let me just pick it up and we'll move forward to completion. So we would have gone through, captured, reviewed all the information that was submitted from online. We could review all those documents, If we needed to request any additional documents, we could have done that here. We've captured, the verifin information here, and so now we've moved forward here to capture the signature because I've marked this as approved. And very similar to what we saw before, the different options for eSign, and we're going to leverage our integration of DocuSign in this case to capture the signature. Again, some on-screen instructions there. So bank staff, go ahead and pass control over to Omar. And we'll go ahead and agree, continue, and just kind of keeping it simple for the demonstration, just a single document with a single signature, and adopt and sign. And we'll complete this process. It'll bring us back here. Momentarily, it'll bring us back right here to our screen. And it says it's been processed, so I'll say OK, and we can go ahead and complete this application by funding our account here. Again, if I wanted to add funds higher than the minimum deposit, I can. Otherwise, I'll just click proceed and then select from whichever option I'd like to fund the account. So ACH, cash, check, debit card, any of those. And just bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and capture the information here. And we'll go ahead and fund the account. So again, leveraging our integration with the core. So we do have those integrations built in, and that's going to complete our business account opening. So we got to see where the application was submitted online. It was sent for review. We picked up that application in the back office. We could review all of the information, the documents, capture the signatures, and complete the funding to go ahead and open this account here. And bear with me for one moment here, since were just mentioning that topic. I just wanted to briefly bring up Newgen's, one of Newgen's strengths is our integration experience and capabilities. So we do have, many out-of-the-box integrations available. So we do have our integration adapters as part of our platform, where we've integrated with many cores, different verification scoring systems. So whether it's Alloys, the Middesk, Experian, different payment gateways to offer those multiple funding options, and of course the capability of having that account pushed to the core. The idea is that we want our clients to always stay in the Newgen system, so we can leverage those integrations so they're working through a single pane of glass in Newgen and not having to access multiple systems, multiple sign-ons, different screens to be able to open an account here. So that's going to go ahead and conclude the demonstration portion of the webinar. So we can go ahead and open it up. If there's any questions, we can go ahead and take those now with our time remaining. Looks like we do have a couple of questions here. So the first one here that I'll go ahead and answer is, how is the data being filled from the ID? So this can vary depending on different options that you might want to utilize. By default, our solution does come with ID scan built in. So this is typically done just by using the information from the barcode to go ahead and pre-fill it. We've seen some interest in other third-party systems that might also leverage OCR, and then also kind of combine the data extraction with some ID verification services that might be there. In the demonstration, we're not taking that approach to leverage the ID for ID verification. We're just using it simply for informational purposes for what's on the ID. But that option is out there if you would like to implement that as well. The next question here is, do you provide two-way integration with the core? Yep, that is correct. We do. Newgen has a bi-directional integration with the core, and Newgen has integration, as I mentioned a short time ago. We have a vast integration experience with the likes of, Fiserv, Jack Henry, Scimitar, FIS, Finastra. So we're very well versed with the various cores that are in the marketplace there. This question here about, do you have built-in capabilities for cross-sell, or is it through a system with which you're integrating? So both options are there. As part of our Newgen platform, we do have a built-in rule engine. So this does allow us to go ahead and define different qualifications or parameters across different products. And so if you saw in the presentation where we did have an offer come up for a credit card, we would have your approval policy for those different products mapped into the system. And so depending on what the system um, would evaluate based upon the data that we're getting would be approved, we can go ahead and present those offers there. But we also do have the capability where if you have some type of third-party system, we can certainly feed data over to that, allow that to be processed, and then so if they have that integration capability, we can certainly connect with that there. We have a question here that says, when the customer applied for the credit card at the end of the application, was this sent to Newgen's LOS or some other LOS? So yeah, that's a great question. So Newgen does have a full-fledged retail LOS that can be deployed on the same underlying NewgenONE platform that the digital account opening solution resides. So this really allows you to go ahead and have multiple solutions on the same platform with the same vendor and just provides a better ROI. However, that being said, we do have the option where Newgen can export the data to an existing LOS if that's your preference. And we have done this before where Newgen has implemented its digital account opening solution. And then alongside with that, we also implemented the customer-facing retail loan application. And then once we had that data, we're able to go ahead and feed it to our client's existing LOS. So both options are there. We have a question here that says, is this solution on-prem or is this hosted in the cloud? Um, from what we've seen, that most of our conversations with our clients is that most financial institutions are electing for the cloud. And this is where we host our solution on AWS or Azure based upon your preferences. However, both options are there, so we can deploy this on-prem or on the cloud, just depending on what your preference is. And we have a question here that says, for an existing customer, will the data be pre-filled or they have to enter it? So if they are an existing customer, they would be able to go ahead and log into online banking, and then all of their data would be pre-filled into the application. And then so it makes it really easy for them to just go through, add new deposit products. So it makes it really fast. It's even, you know, we're able to have a new customer go through the application uh, in under 5 minutes. So it's even faster for those existing customers that are not having to fill out all of that information by just pre-filling their data in there. And we do have a question here. How long, I think that's kind of related to what I just said. Sorry, I didn't pick up on this one. How long does it take to open an account using Newgen? So what we've seen, our clients are able to have new customers open those accounts in under 5 minutes, where those existing customers can even be much faster, usually around maybe 3 minute mark. Right. I think that we don't have any further questions, and we can go ahead and conclude the session. Thank you again for joining. I hope this was insightful, and would love to hear from you if you have any other further questions as well.